Everybody expected me to go through a really big depression. And I guess I probably did, but I'm really good at hiding things like that. So I just put my smiley face on and said, well, it is what it is, and it's not going to be any different. And just kind of accepted it. It kind of seemed to depress other people more than it depressed me. Courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. Those are the 5 tenets of Taekwondo. Sometimes if I get into a situation, I'll recite them in my head or sometimes even out loud before I respond to a situation to make sure that I'm living up to the 5 tenets that I make my students recite every single day. I'm asked on a daily basis how I do what I do and how I navigate through the world the way I do as far as teaching my classes and everything, and I kind of wish I had an answer for you. I come from really old school karate, and it was kind of the end of the blood and guts era of karate, but it was really hardcore and old school. And then I had a taste of more modern karate, so I kind of developed a blend of being really hardcore and old school, yet with a modern twist. So we try to stay extremely true to martial arts, but we definitely don't want to ever be considered a belt factory like many of your more modern karate schools.
4, 3, 2. Spread back out for your kata and then get your spot. I want to see the orange belt foam, and I don't want any excuses. While we're breathing, I need you to listen, and I need all of you to listen so you can help someone make a correction. See, it's our job now, at this level, if you know someone's having a hard time or struggling with something, you need to very nicely and very positively go up and say, hey, let me help you out with that. If you seem to continue to make the same mistake, say, hey, Valdez helped you with that last week. Let me help you out a little bit more. Here's my correction.
Give a compliment, make a correction, give another compliment, and make sure that student feels good about the correction that you just made, and that makes them want to correct the mistake that they're making.
Shidok! Get loud! Slow it down. Good. Good. Chin up, Santiago. Good, Kato. Finish it. Show.
The way I balance out being positive and being extremely strict is I can get on a child big time about their behavior in class and then turn around 2 seconds later and smile at them with the biggest and most sincere smile. And I even had one little girl after just a few weeks ago, after I reprimanded her, she said, "That's cute." I said, "What's cute?" She goes, "The way you smiled at me afterwards, that's cute." And that to me made my day. The kids actually really like, not to get reprimanded, but they like when you are wanting to pay the attention to them, to actually take the time to reprimand them, I guess.
Mr. Luke, Mr. Luke, Mr. Luke. All right, we're gonna do our slide up side kick. Watch Mr. Atticus here. Wow, that was good. Turn your bottom. Go. Boom. Now when you hit it, say, Kia. Go. Kia. Kick, 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 kick. Boom. Oh, this is the last one. And loud Kia. Up.
Okay, sir.
I'm all right.
All right.
Ah, you big bully. All right, I'm gonna switch groups.
I set up things, I prepare things a lot before I do them to make sure that I know exactly what's out and where it is. That gives it the appearance that I always know what I'm doing. If I can get in there and stage things before I have to do things. I guess when you get so used to bumping into things, you learn how not to bump into things. So it gives it the illusion that you know what you're doing all the time, but you don't.
I do not care if you're any good. You're an intermediate. If you're advanced belt, I care if you're good. You're wearing a red belt, you better be good. You guys are all intermediates. I do not care if you're any good at all. That's a strange thing for a teacher to say. What do I care about, guys? What do I care about? All of you brought your effort today. Every single one of you shined today. But you need to do it all the time. Not just when there's a camera on you. Not just when you're in uniform. Not just on test day. Not just on tournament day. It's got to be every single day. You give me this kind of effort, then all of you will make it up to red belt.
I will say he tailors the leadership for the student. His attitude is he always tries to look for the best in somebody and then foster the best in you. And by doing that, that'll just remove the negative out of you by consistently trying to foster you in a positive way.
Come on. Control your arms, control your arms. Good, good, good. Stop! Now, oh, you okay? Hold those arms up, guys. When you get tired, the first thing that happens is the arms drop. And when the arms drop, you get hurt. So we want to keep you safe. We want to keep those arms up all the time. So watch Cobra Kai. Good. It's inside and then down. Watch her again. I told you guys she was good. Let's do it. Axe kick. Nice. Oh, good try, good try. Good, you went outside.
He has a very unique style, very high standard. He will begin and you'll just keep up.
Go! Come on, Ollie, faster. Come on, Ollie. Move, move. Move it. Come on, Ollie. Come on, Ollie. Was that a tie? Yeah. Then we all win. Give me 10.
His teaching style has been pretty consistent, I would say. It rewards effort. It doesn't reward any sort of laziness. So even if you're that kid who isn't as naturally gifted, he's going to take a chance on you if you're showing him that you can give him your all. He likes to give people opportunities.
Do you guys want to know who the most impressive person in the room, though, right now today is? Want to know who it is?
Yes, sir.
This guy right here. It doesn't come easy for him, but he tries every single day when he gets here. He struggles through these techniques, but he gives it his all, and he does not give up. And you guys have seen it 100 times before with 100 different kids that struggle. They give up on trying, don't they?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That to me means way more than natural ability. Now, these guys up here, they have natural ability plus hard work, and that will take you everywhere. They will always shine. But it's really not that hard for them to shine. It comes a little bit easy to them, but don't think they don't work hard, because they do. But what you're doing, sir, you impress me every single day. Will you keep doing what you're doing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jumbi! Had a great time with you guys today. You guys have an awesome holiday, and listen to your parents this weekend. Boss out. You're dismissed. Good job, everybody. You're dismissed. Good. 2 roundhouse kick, go! 3 roundhouse kick, here. Point your knee directly forward. Dorito. Now, the way my eyes work is if you come straight at me on my center line, I have no central vision. You will hit me every single time. But this also works on people that have good sight, because your central vision is not used to see motion. It's used to read details like reading or seeing someone's face. Your peripheral vision, that's used to see motion. Now, if you come off my center line and you bring it out here, I'm going to catch you and I'm going to see it. So therefore, do you want that knee over here where I can see it off my center line, or do you want it on my center line so it's invisible to me? That's right. So point the knee directly forward. Side up roundhouse kick. 1.
I don't think I was considered legally blind until like the age of 21 or 22. But then since then, my vision has gotten so much worse. And over the last couple of years, it's really gone downhill. But in my young 20s, I still thought I saw pretty well, even though I was considered blind. I never did very well in school, but no one had any idea that I was going blind. And so they would just tell me that I was a poor reader and I was a lazy student. And so I guess I lived up to their expectations. However, in physical fitness, I always excelled, so that's, what I like to focus on. We had no idea that I was going blind until I was trying to renew my driver's license. My driver's license always said that I needed prescriptive lenses, which I never wore. I just kept them in the car with me in case I got pulled over. And then when I was 19, I could not renew my license at all because there's no way I could pass the eye exam anymore.
I once asked one of the Grand Masters, I said, well, how do we judge other martial arts if I don't know Hapkido or Kung Fu, and they come to this tournament, how am I supposed to judge their moves? He said, well, it's pretty simple. No matter what their age group or no matter what their style is, you watch them move, and whichever person you would want to fight the least, they should be your winner because they're the strongest and scariest one out there. Does that make sense? So the winner of this is the person that I want to fight the least. The person that's got the most accuracy, yeah! The person that can really penetrate that bag, the person who yells the loudest is gonna be the sharpest and the best one. Go, do it! Harder. Good, 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 good.
So after seeing several specialists and several eye specialists, and then sending me to a couple of different retina specialists, they finally figured out that I had some rare eye disorder. I was just barely starting to go blind at 18, but I guess it was just enough for them to start to really notice it.
Good. Katie, you rotate your back too much? Stop! Wow, wow. You guys are doing really awesome. Watch out. When you throw the turn kick, your back needs to be right here. Don't turn to your shoulders all the way back around because you're probably gonna over-rotate, you're gonna miss your opponent. When I was a kid, they taught us to throw this kick blind. I guess I took them serious.
When we first dropped in for the trial class, I really didn't know that he had he was blind. I don't think we knew until a couple classes in that he couldn't see.
I have absolutely no central vision. And your central vision is used to see details, like reading or seeing faces, which I don't. Your peripheral vision is used to detect motion, which is the only thing I can detect. So if something is moving, I'll be able to see it. But if it stands still long enough, it will become invisible and it will become camouflage to whatever is surrounding it.
At first, I thought he was tremendously rude because I just couldn't understand. It's like, why would this person not look at me in the eyes when I'm talking to him? And he's like, by the way, I'm blind. And so now I felt awful. And so it was the first time I ever met him. And you would have no clue he was blind until, he grabs his stick or whichever. And, we've gone out to eat with him. And you have no idea until he tells you, hey, can you tell me what they have here or what's good here? Or, can you grab me something to drink?
I'm one of those people that was kind of like, is he really blind? Because he was so good at doing what he does and getting around.
Because we do have the level of hierarchy with the different belts, I know exactly what they should be doing and what mistakes they're likely to make. And so since I can see their motion, I most likely know what the outcome of their technique was.
Come on, move it. How you doing? Go, 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 go.
1, 2, switch. I was 13 years old, and I was at one of my best friend, Mark Thomas's birthday party, and we were playing basketball out front, and unbeknownst to me, Miguel had just moved in with his grandmother next door.
I was the weird kid from Texas. She was a cute girl next door shooting basketball, and
he came over to play basketball with us, and he asked me if I wanted a Coke.
And then I brought her a Mountain Dew or something, so she thought I was really weird.
He brought me a root beer.
Down here in Texas, we call everything Coke.
I don't really like root beer, and I thought it was very weird.
So that was the first time I met my wife.
That silly root beer.
One of the funny stories I tell my students about my wife is I have real bad allergies, and I was out there doing a routine, and in the middle of my routine, a hunk of phlegm came out, and it was so gross, and it hit the ground. And as soon as I was done with my routine, she ran out there with a napkin and cleaned it up and ran off the stage really fast. And I kind of joking around looked at her and said, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And it was true.
And Jay came into the picture in 2002. And we took kind of a unique approach, and Miguel stayed home with her the first year, which isn't really unusual now, but 19 years ago, it wasn't super common that the girl's going to go to work and the dad's going to stay home, especially a disabled dad. But it worked for us. You know, again, he's awesome with kids, and he was awesome with Jay.
Not to take anything away from him being my parent, but like almost like it was more of a sibling relationship. My mom was like my mom, and then my dad was always in the same place as me, like waiting for a ride from my mom too, and like waiting for mom to cook dinner for both of us. And like it just didn't, we felt, I don't know, I always thought of him like mutual, like we were always together a lot. I think his blindness affected our relationship in that sense. And then like I'd say like as it got later into like school and stuff, my dad started being less present with taking care of me like after school. So he'd be like, typically he'd be somewhere else.
You know, at first it seemed like I was going over a big hill, and then eventually it felt like I was falling off a cliff as far as my health was going. I was just about to start my classes, and blood started coming out of my nose and mouth, and I kind of looked at my assistant, and I said, do you think I should go to care now or go to the ER? And was rushed immediately to the ER, and that was the beginning of the end, I guess. Probably about the age of 24, 25 years old is when I realized I was developing a problem. And then I wouldn't say that I was drinking 6 nights a week or 7 nights a week until almost 30 years old, but right about that age, it'd gotten pretty severe at that point.
He started having bleeding problems, and that day he went to the restroom and he started coughing up blood, and he said it wasn't stopping, and so he left.
He would even take a bite of a sandwich and he would start bleeding. And it was like there weren't sores, we couldn't figure out what it was or why it was happening. He had a night where he had like scratched just a little something on his back, and it turned into this gushing, the blood was just, it was extraordinary, honestly. Like, you don't think it can actually happen. And then he came to karate, and he called me, and he was super upset. He was crying, and he was like, I'm coughing up blood. And by the time I got to the emergency room, they had done a variety of things, and they couldn't get the bleeding to stop. Then he was transferred by care flight to Dallas. They came in and they're like, he's really turned a corner. It's not likely that he's gonna survive. Did you have any idea? I'm like, kind of. I knew he was sick. Like, I knew he was sick. I knew it was bad. I didn't know we were here. I didn't even know here existed. And they told him, if you have another drink, you're gonna die. We want you to go directly from here into treatment. And he just flat out refused. And so we left, and I drove him home. And on the way home, he asked me to take him to his favorite hangout. And I told him I wouldn't. And so we got home, and he got an Uber.
I can't pinpoint what led to the alcoholism, but there's lots of things that happened during his childhood that were bothersome.
Well, my mom got a divorce from the gentleman who had asked me to call him Dad. I guess they divorced when I was 10 years old. So at about 10 and a half or 11 years old, I came over to visit with him, and I had an IBC root beer, which came in a realistic-looking beer bottle. And he asked me if I wanted to pour some real beer in that beer bottle. So I poured out my root beer, and he filled it up with his tapped Budweiser. And so I guess started developing a relationship with alcohol at a pretty young age.
Alcohol had always been part of who he was, as far as from the time I knew him. When we were little and we would meet at the roller rink, he would show up and he had been drinking even as a kid, but he was so active, and he went to karate as often as he could. He held down his job. It just was part of our lives every day. He came home from work and he would have a 6-pack of beer, and then the 6-pack turned into an 8-pack, and then the 8-pack turned into a 12-pack, and it kind of grew from there.
Eventually, like, he just wouldn't be at home and he'd be at the bar. And I feel like that was kind of like just taking it a step further. He always, as long as I've known him, has gone to the bar for lunch. He'd pick a restaurant to fixate on, and it'd be that restaurant every single day. And then he would just kind of make it his spot. And then it was just kind of like, that's just where he is. I didn't really think too much of it.
But it wasn't even the going out, it was the fact that he wasn't telling me. That I was like, okay, I think this is way bigger than what we want to acknowledge. Like, he's never really been a secret keeper. So the minute I realized that in his head it had turned, and it was something he shouldn't talk about, it was something that I was like, okay, this might be a bigger problem than I realized.
I don't think I really hid my alcoholism from them. I think at one point I started drinking during the day, and I was trying to keep that under wraps, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was hiding it.
My memory of it is definitely different from how I've heard my mom describe it and him describe it. Like, I was left out of it a lot. He went to rehab, and I remember, like, not really understanding. And I mean, like, I was definitely aware of his drinking, so I think that was kind of angering, because, like, I was just as involved as anyone else. And but then we would, like, go visit him, and I remember, like, going to eat with him, and that would be really hard. And then trying to, like, explain to my, like, I had this one teacher I was really close with in elementary school, and I'd, like, try to, like, voice that to her a little bit, but, like, I just didn't even know how to, like, express that to people. It was just weird.
He went through rehab a few times. The first time I brought it up, and he was really, honestly, pretty open to it. Then he escaped rehab. From there, he got very sick. And so it turned more into actual conversations of, are we there yet? Like, can we actually talk about this yet? Most of the time he'd say no.
Something had to change. I think he knew before that happened. He knew, like, okay, something's going to happen. He's either going to have some sort of an episode where he's not going to survive. He knew it. He knew it was coming.
I remember it was scary, because I would just get random texts like, your dad just had a seizure. And I just remember, like, feeling so in the dark about, is my dad coming home? Or, like, whatever. And then whenever he finally did, it was like, I don't really plan on stopping. It just hurt, I think. Whenever he had, like, that really bad incident, I didn't know if it was gonna last.
They spent the evening trying to get my blood to clot, and finally were able to get it to where I could go home that night, and I wound up back in the bar the very same day within 24 hours.
He was really unhappy with me that I wouldn't go and sit with him. In his world, he had just had a really horrible day, and you go and you have a drink when you have a horrible day. And he called an Uber, and I took Jaden, and we left. We had no place to go. We just drove around.
Oddly enough, man, I woke up the next day, and I wanted to go out for brunch, and
I was pretty shocked and just kind of looked at him, and I'm like,
if you choose to drink today, I won't be here. I can't be here for that.
We don't get to pretend like those last 2 days didn't happen. So no, Jaden and I will not be part of you choosing to kill yourself.
And I said, okay, I won't drink, and I've never touched a drop since then. They wanted to keep me at a rehab.
And they saw how sick he was, and they said, no, absolutely cannot be here. He needs to go someplace where he can detox. And so we wound up back at the emergency room. They finally got him to a place that they thought he could at least get into a rehab.
I knew I probably should have stayed. I definitely should have stayed, but I knew that wasn't for me.
I was kind of just in shock. I wasn't mad, but I was just really sad. And I was like, this isn't something, I don't think you can do this on your own. What does that even look like? And we had no plan.
I have this incredible knack for blocking things out that I don't like to remember. But the whole withdrawal thing definitely was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. As far as remembering the details of it, I don't. It was 2 weeks of hell. I remember laying on the floor and convulsing and shaking and supposedly had seizures. I remember hallucinating. Probably the roughest I've ever felt in my entire life was going through those withdrawals.
We have a really awesome group of friends. They'd come over, make sure he was fed, make sure he was taken care of. Just friends. And I went to work, took care of Jaden. And once we got through that, then it was like, okay, so now what do we do? And he was still super sick. You know, they had told us his liver was never going to be, it had gone past the point that it was ever going to actually get better. They'd say over and over and over again, you need some sort of organized treatment, you need therapy. And we could never get him to do it. He didn't want to be a burden on people trying to get there, I think was something that he fought with, that he was going to have to actually talk to people about getting there.
After a few weeks of going through all the chambers and whatnot, I just kind of decided I didn't need any more medical attention. Just kind of did it on my own.
And I don't know. I would never have that in me to be able to do it alone. I don't know how he does.
He definitely came in whenever he was doing a little bit better and like came and talked to me and he was like, look, like I'm making this decision for you and for your mom. And he's like, I'm doing this for you guys. And that really meant a lot. And then he actually went through with it.
I'm super proud of him. Super proud of him. It kind of blows my mind, but ultimately I cannot even express how proud I am of him.
I definitely think that my excessive drinking took quite a toll on my relationship with my wife, but it's hard to say how much of a toll it took on that relationship. I was looking at it through pretty drunk eyes. When you stop drinking, your brain becomes completely rewired, and the decisions you make and your thought process is totally different than when you are an alcoholic. And now I see and do things completely different, and my wife and I have a much stronger relationship now that I'm not drinking.
Believe in them, you know? And like really support them when they're trying to better themselves, because most of the time that they're bettering themselves or like making an effort to, it's for you.
It was hard on my daughter. It was very hard on my daughter, and I'm not going to try to lie to myself to say it wasn't hard on her. And I'm really sorry about that. Nothing I can do about that, but I definitely am sorry about it.
You have to be understanding that it's going to take time and like a lot of effort to have any sort of healing there. So, yeah, I'd say just patience.
Next time I saw him was back at the school. He seemed a lot calmer. It was back to karate, back to how can we make the school better? What can we do to improve? You know, back to where we started.
The passion is much bigger again. Much, much bigger. The little stuff that really matters, I had kind of noticed it had stopped, little things had stopped mattering. We're not going to come home and dust all the trophies and find the place for the new trophy. We're going to go to the bar after the tournament to celebrate. But now, the trophies are dusted again.
Miguel Valdez is the most passionate person that I know in everything he does. He doesn't do anything half effort at all. Everything he does, there's a reason behind it and there's passion behind it. He gets excited about everything.
The scary thing about it is he's faster now and stronger than 9 years ago, which is pretty insane if you've ever fought him.
I'd say he's in much better shape. He's a lot harder to keep up with on the mats during the workouts.
My respect for him has increased greatly because that was a really, really huge step for him to take, and he did it. I mean, so many people have tried, have failed, And he did it. It's amazing. I mean, he was already an amazing person, but that brought it up a notch. 10 notches.
Overall, I think people have always recognized that, like, he's amazing at what he does. Like, truly. Like, I mean, he's really, really good at what he does. And he, like, believes in everyone. He truly does. Like, kids with special needs, kids who are just having a hard time, like, he can, like, see that pretty quick and, like, recognize that in them. He knows how to help, and it's really cool. I've never seen that before, and I think it's awesome. Like, I've always thought he was great, but, like, now it's, like, really shining through.
I tell people all the time it'd be really silly to judge him today for the sins of his past. And because of his eyes, and because of his childhood, and because of his issues with alcoholism, with not having a dad growing up, there's not many people that can come in here and tell a story that would shock us or make him judge you or look at you like you can't do it. He's going to look at you and say, okay, this is hard, that's hard, but there's a way to get past it. And I just don't think you'd ever find anybody that would look for the way for that person to learn more than him.
The instructor that I received my black belt from, he said that you can only get a diamond from coal, and I should only focus on the students that I knew I could get a diamond out of. He actually told me that all the other students are just rocks, and they're only there to pay your bills. And I 100% disagree with everything that he said. I honestly think that if I review back on my life, I honestly think I just gave it my best shot possible. And it's made me very fortunate. I am where I am today. I'm healthier now than I've ever been. I was able to stop drinking 3 years ago. I've successfully got my daughter off to college, and I'm in a great relationship with my wife, so I don't think I could be any happier than I am right now.